Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Basketball Maestros podcast. Thank you for joining us today. So we're gonna talk more NFL stuff today. Week 2 happened last week. So we have some personal experiences to share of our teams and their performances this past week, and we are gonna revisit that article, the Bleacher Report article about NBA teams' biggest question mark. Um, Left off on the Bulls last time, so we're gonna try to plow through that, and that'll probably be the show for today. So, jumping right into it, we'll start off with NFL Week 2. First off, I'll start here. DirecTV is a very horrendous company. You know, Daniel was out of town. He can talk about his out of town experience in a second, but he was kind enough to let my friend Ryan and I watch some good old Sunday Ticket for football games. And I woke up a little late, like 10 minutes past starting time of games. Joined Discord to watch the games, and Ryan says that Sunday Ticket isn't working. So I look on Twitter. Sure enough, everybody's complaining about it. It happened week 1. It took like an hour, 10-ish minutes to get it up and running. And I think I think it was like close to 4 hours past starting time of games. I see DirecTV post on Twitter. NFL Sunday Ticket should be working now. And Ryan tries to log in again, and sure enough, still doesn't work. So my whole Sunday experience was watching good old Reddit streams of NFL games that would buffer every 10 seconds. And I'd see the chat complaining about which game is freezing and breaking. And when I was trying to watch the Saints, it was constant buffering and the stream dying. So it was just a very awful experience. And let alone my team lost as well. So not a great Sunday, but it's absurd how people are paying a good amount of money for a service that doesn't work one day of the week. It just boggles my mind. But surely Sunday Ticket will work perfectly fine this Sunday. We'll definitely see how that works. But enough bashing a garbage company. We will go into the Saints Buccaneers game. I mentioned how I had to watch the game in a very ghetto setting, so total viewing experience wasn't all there, but a very defense oriented game. The offenses on both sides were pretty bad, frequent 3-and-outs, and I think it was 3-3 going into the fourth, and the Saints just shot themselves in the foot with so many penalties. They would get a stop on third down, there would be like a holding penalty or pass interference. And that just led to Tom Brady eventually getting down the field and scoring a touchdown. And when it was 10-3, I think the Bucks got the ball back and the stream just completely died, so I couldn't see the rest of the fourth quarter. But I was looking at the play-by-play and I saw Jameis threw 3 picks in one quarter, which, Jesus Christ, is not surprising coming from Jameis, but then again, 3 picks in one quarter is pretty awful. Applaud him for playing with 4 fractures in his back, but if he's going to do that to the team, I'd rather just have him not play, and might as well just have Andy Dalton have a shot at it, but we'll see how that goes moving forward. I don't know if his back is going to impact his play. It definitely look like it has, but very boring game from the Saints side. Followed a 1-1, which still solid. Play the Panthers this week, so hopefully that should be a bounce back win against a struggling Panthers team. And yeah, hopefully Jameis doesn't play this horrendous again, but we'll see.
So, just to clarify, um, I know that that password works for Sunday Ticket. I literally tried it when I was away on the app, and it worked. Logged me right in. And what we could take away from this is Sunday Ticket's awful, like we've already said. Um,
Oh.
but kind of where I went this weekend. Went to the Cowboys and Bengals game in Dallas or in Arlington, technically. Brother's birthday, 16th birthday. Something with my family is you go to your home stadium. If you When it's your 16th birthday, I went to Oakland a couple years ago. So only fair for him to go to Dallas. And I was able to tag along. Really, AT&T Stadium it's actually like incredible. It is probably the biggest stadium I think I'll ever see. That thing was literally huge. Jerry really knows how to get his money. He knows. But overall, really cool. But kind of to move away from my takeaways, overall in the week. Um, I'll stick to the AFC because that's kind of what matters for me at least more than the NFC. But takeaways, um, Ravens look really good offensively. As many of you know, that game was crazy in my opinion. The big Miami comeback. We'll get to Miami in a bit, but the Ravens look really good in the passing game this year. Something that you really wouldn't have expected. Not saying that Lamar's a bad quarterback or anything, but um, you always expect the Ravens to kind of have more of that running game, and so far it looks like they're really struggling to get the running game going, which is a little bit concerning. When they, obviously they should be able to close that game out if their running game was a little bit better, but um, overall that was a really good game, and the Ravens are looking good offensively, but their defense will have to pick it up. Dolphins, I mean, Mike McDaniels, how can you not like that guy? I mean, comes in with the 49ers offense, and you could just tell that Tua is having a lot easier time. I mean, when you're throwing the Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and not Devontae Parker as your number one, you obviously will have an easier time. But those players getting the ball yards after catch, that is just insane. And that game, the Ravens defense really needs to get their stuff together because there is no way you should even come out of that game with a loss. Um, but that is that is the Tua that I think everyone's been waiting to see. That's the reason everyone's written him off. Is he throws a couple picks early, and then I think it was McDaniel's who said in the presser that you know the old Tua was shut down there, but this Tua, stepped up and came back and, just had fun playing football and ended up coming back, which is great to see. So it's definitely interesting to see those storylines throughout the season. I still think the Ravens are my favorite to win the AFC North. It's going to be interesting to see the Dolphins Bills this weekend. That one's going to be really good in Miami. But those two teams are definitely looking like they're going to be, offensive powerhouses coming up throughout the season. But before we get to the Raiders, I'd like to go through my
uh,
disappointing teams so far in the AFC besides the Raiders. Number one, this is probably the most surprising to me besides the Raiders, is the Colts. Now, the Colts always start off like this, but when you have the Texans and the Jaguars, probably two of the
uh,
bottom five teams in the league, and it's just I don't know what it is. I know that their offensive line has been abysmal. Their receiving core like was hurt in Jacksonville. I get it, and I don't think the defenses are bad for the Texans and Jaguars, but when you have Pittman week one, you have Taylor healthy both weeks. You have I'm forgetting his name. Their second round receiver. I forgot his name, but you have weapons that you know aren't bad. And, Mo Ali Cox isn't the best tight end, but he has the size, and it just looks like that Matt Ryan just doesn't know what he's doing. He just his arm. It looks like
uh,
his age is finally catching up to him,
hmm,
and it's just he's getting pressured every play, every read he makes just doesn't look good. And the Colts have another tough team. Well, not they hadn't had a tough team. Now they have the Chiefs
oh
come in the
god.
house, and the Chiefs are, in my opinion, I mean, they're about to destroy the Colts. I mean, Gus Bradley is their DC, and the man runs cover three every play. And as a Raider fan who's had Gus Bradley as our DC, Mahomes is about to absolutely destroy this defense. I mean, he never
Ugh.
had an answer with the Raiders, and I forgot what other teams he coached. I know he was the Chargers DC, I'm pretty sure. And Gus Bradley does not have an answer for Mahomes, and I'm expecting the Colts to start 0-2 and 1. And it's like what really boggles me about this franchise and this team is they're not dumb. Frank Reich is not dumb. The front office is not dumb. So why do they start off slow every year? Who knows? But they got to figure it out fast. I still have them winning the AFC South just because there's just no one there that really looks like they're a threat right now. So we really have to hope that they pick it up because I mean that should be really embarrassing to kind of just not make the playoffs in any fashion. Second team that's disappointing is the Titans. Now I know they played the Bills, and obviously, I don't think many people were expecting them to win that game. I wasn't. But week one, you play the Giants at home, and there's just that game wasn't an excuse. There's no way you drop that game. I mean, I know the Giants are 2-0 now, but I think it's not going to last, in my opinion. But you get rid of like I was watching the game last night or 2 nights ago, and I'm pretty sure ESPN said that the Titans last year their top five receiving leaders are all off the team. Like your weapons for Tannehill, and I know Tannehill's not the greatest, but I mean you had to get him someone. I mean Traylon Burks is a rookie. He's not enough. Robert Woods looks like he desperately needs a McVay offense right now. Like it's not looking good for your weapons. And Henry, he's not the fall off that everyone was saying is finally here. And you could just kind of tell Henry is not looking like the Derrick Henry we know. The defense just is not looking good. Got burned by Saquon the first week and just got absolutely torched by Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. So Variable has to figure something out, and he has to figure out something fast because if he wants, they're lucky right now that their division is garbage with the Texans, Jaguars, and even the Colts, who are not looking good. So I mean, it's between the Titans and Colts, but I just like the Colts more overall than the Titans right now. But I mean, it is not looking good for the South right now. And those two teams, and let's think about it. Let's remember last year, the Titans were the first seed in the AFC. Like they were the number one seed. Obviously, the Bengals came in and beat them, but like this team has the talent and had the talent, and their offseason just went abysmal. It went not how you want to see it. So, I mean, they got to figure out something if they want to be competitive, and they have to figure out something fast. Now, the third team, which is most surprising for me, is the Bengals. That
Hmm.
you spend all this money on the line, you revamp the offensive line. Leo Collins comes in, says, nobody's going to touch you, Burrow. And then the Cowboys get 6 sacks. Now, I was at that game. I was watching the game, and Joe Burrow, it's just, you can tell that he is not comfortable in the pocket right now because he has to be used to a guy getting in under 2 seconds. Micah Parsons absolutely cooked the Bengals line. Like it was a slaughter. And, you know, with all the weapons they have and Chase, Higgins, Boyd, Mixon, Hayden Hurst, it's just it's just so disappointing to see this team not be good because their line cannot block to save Burrow's life. He's on pace to get sacked like 100 times this year. Like I don't want to be praying for it or hoping for it, but he's not gonna last. He's gonna get hurt eventually, and Like they have to figure out something. They have to, they have the Jets coming up this week. And my God, if they don't beat the Jets
Huh.
by more than a touchdown, there is gonna be riots in Ohio. I mean,
I
that's
think I saw something. Is Zach Wilson coming back next week? Or I saw he's ramping up or something.
I don't know if he's coming back, but if I'm the Jets, I'm low key sticking with Flacco
Damn right.
because I I think Zach Wilson was a bust from day one, but I'll give my opinion. Um, and yeah, I mean, their defense is fine. I know they went against Cooper Rush, and from what I saw, their defense wasn't bad. I mean, obviously, like the Cowboys have playmakers in Pollard and Lamb, and Schultz is in the bad side end. Cedric Wilson, I think that's his name, isn't looking bad either. I mean, they have the weapons, and they're looking good with the Cowboys definitely made it easy for Rush. But I mean, the Bengals limited them well. They limited Zeke well. I know Zeke isn't what he used to be, in my opinion, but they limited everything well. And I mean, with Burrow, oh, that's what I'm remembering. Zach Taylor. Now that makes me remember. Zach Taylor is awful. I think he is another reason to blame with the offensive line. Two-minute warning hits. You get the ball. I don't remember exactly. They're on the Cowboys 9. They have 90 yards or 50 yards to, win the game because it's tied at 17. Zach Taylor, second down. They run the ball or it's a completed pass. 130, 140. What does he do? They line up for a standard huddle. They don't try to do hurry up. They don't try to there's no emphasis. Everyone's walking back to the huddle. In my opinion, I don't even care if it's like we're on their own 9 and we might have to punt it back to them. Like I want to hurry it up. Like you want to get that defense tired. And what do they decide to do on a 3rd and 7 backed up? They decide to throw a flat route to the right side to figure out who to get a 3-yard gain. And the Cowboys take a timeout. It's 120 left on the clock. They drive down and hit a game-winning field goal. Now, if you want to be successful in the league, in my opinion, there's no way you're not hurrying it up in a 2-minute drill, regardless. Like that really confused me personally because I just don't get it. I mean, there's just no urgency. It looked like Burrow had no time, and that team really needs to figure out what they want to do. Because I mean, the AFC North, it's not open. I think the Ravens are my favorite, even before the season. And if the Bengals want to be a wild card team or even win the North, they got to figure out something with that line because they still have. I mean, the Steelers, you saw it even with TJ Watt when they get him back. They're gonna they're gonna make Burrow's life hard. Miles Garrett's gonna make Burrow's life hard, and even the Ravens. I can't think of anyone right now that's like outstanding as a player of pass rush, but I know that you know blitzing Burrow will definitely work, and I know that John Harbaugh definitely will make that a hard game for them. But now to the exciting part of this
Yes,
weekend.
sir.
Not exciting, but it's what I've been waiting to talk about. Vegas, Vegas, Vegas.
Uh,
This is my most disappointing team so far this season for right reasons. Last year, we are 6-7. Get just got torched by the Chiefs, 40-10 or whatever. I lost hope. And somehow with an interim head coach, arguably Derek's like no weapons, we go into Cleveland, beat the Browns, beat the Broncos at home, go to the Colts, which no one expected us to go in there and beat them. Last set like that game was incredible. I don't know if anyone remembers it, but the Renfro like last second fourth down like that was insane, and he ran it in for I think a touchdown or something. Then we have obviously the thriller with the Chargers, and we win that game to go into the playoffs. And we even gave the AFC representatives, the Bengals, a run for their money, and we almost won that game. And Derek Carr, like that was obviously an unlucky pick at the end, but we almost won that game. And now in the offseason, what do? We make a trade to get Devontae Adams, we get Chandler Jones, we get Rocky Sin in a trade, and we're looking like we're gonna come back this season and do great.
Surely.
Week 1, we lose to the Chargers, and I'm not mad about that loss. That's a loss that people saw coming. That's a loss that you could say was going to happen. And we still made it competitive. The defense looked great second half. Carr looked good on some throws. Obviously, the 3 interceptions were completely his fault. Like you can't if you look at all those, they were really bad. And we almost had a chance. Like our line was really bad, and obviously Khalil Mack had 3 sacks and closed that game out. But I mean, last year, we have a chance there. That's the Derek that we're used to, who drives us down in the field goal range or touchdown. And think about it, last year, that's the Derek Carr that we usually are used to. And obviously it didn't work out and we lost. Now the Chiefs dismantle the Cardinals week 1. They show them the frauds they are. And now we come into Oakland or Vegas, 20-0 halftime.
Ugh.
And then we go out of halftime, and it's like I'm watching the goddamn 2014 Raiders again. 2014, 2015, 2012, all the booty teams we had and their defense. It's like chunk play after chunk play, 20 yards after 20 yards, and the 30 yards. Murray's running around the field, or no pressure, holding penalty, bailing out the Cardinals after holding penalty. And it's just every time we get the ball back after they've scored a touchdown, after Murray just shits on us, sorry, but after he just destroys us, what does McDaniels dial up? Like the most conservative stuff I've ever seen. And this is what I like. This is what I was very scared about with hiring McDaniels is I just don't like him as a coach. I just think he's awful. And you see it Sunday where it just looks like our offense is completely different for some reason. Just nothing's working. And it's not the Cardinals being good, it's all on the Raiders. Now, whether that be Derek Carr not making the reads he needs, whether that be the line being bad, I still think that the biggest blame on Sunday was Josh McDaniels. Now, let's fast forward to where the Cardinals are 23-15 and they kick the ball to the Raiders. Now, the Raiders have 5 minutes, 6 minutes to go, and what do you think we should be doing? Running out the clock. The Raiders give the Cardinals back like they maybe wasted 30 seconds off the clock, and they give the Cardinals the ball back. It doesn't. It's just how in the Lord's name do we have 3 straight possessions in the second half all go 3-and-outs basically? It just, and we have Devonte Adams, and we didn't target him once. It felt like it just doesn't make sense to me. The entire organization should be ashamed at thinking McDaniels was the answer. And we give the Cardinals the ball back. Would you look at that? Such a standard Raiders trope. They march down. We finally, hey, we get a sack on fourth or we get I forgot what the down was, but we got a sack. Game was over. 4th and 1. Holding on our secondary. It actually is a script. It actually is a script. And then they get down on the 4-yard line. We play perfect defense for 3 freaking downs. And then, of course, the script, 5 seconds left. Murray does magic, absolute magic, and scores a touchdown. Same thing on the 2-point. Somehow they get a delay of game and they're backed up to the 7. Magic again. They score a 2-point. And then the script, because the Raiders are just gods at choking. We don't get the ball in the start off the second half or the start off OT. Don't even get me started about OT. We stop them, right? Obviously, everyone's seen it. Great defense. Oh, McDaniels, McDaniels, McDaniels. The play before, Derek Carr almost throws an interception. Okay, that's understandable. God bless we got out of that one. Throw it to Renfro. Oh, would you look at that? He fumbles. Oh no. And we get the ball back because we're lucky. Now we have one of the better kickers in the league in Carlson, who's made 25 consecutive field goals, and we're on our own 40. Now, football fans, what do you think we should do? Last year, we'd run it with Jacobs 3 times and just let Carlson hit the game winner. Now, wouldn't that be smart? No. McDaniels wants to run a wide receiver screen because that's the answer. And who do we give it to? The guy who's fumbled 3 times already this season.
Uh,
God. We give it to Renfro and he fumbles, man. Like, I don't get it. I don't like it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, I know Josh Jacobs isn't what he used to be, but you have a guy who can just get you 5 more yards by running the ball. You let Carlson finish the freaking game. Like, it doesn't need to be complicated. It doesn't need to be cute with your little stupid wide receiver screen. Like, I know that all the stats are saying like 0-2 teams don't make the playoffs, but the Colts, I know, have always bounced back. I know the Saints, when they had Drew Brees, started off 0-2 and they would always make the playoffs. Like, I believe in this team. If we can go into the bye week at 2-3, because God knows the way we're looking, we're not beating the Chiefs. That's not happening. If we could go into the bye week 2-3, we have an easy schedule until week 13. If we just have to get hot after the bye week, because I still believe in this team. Derek can get his stuff together. McDaniels can get his stuff together with play calling. Just overall, the defense even looks better. Like, it looks better. And I know, like I said, that they got cooked in the second half, but the first half we looked dominant. Like, it looked like Kyler had no answer. But somehow, some way, like all it just always falls up. I'm so used to this as a Raider fan.
uh,
It pisses me off. And I don't know how many more times I have to rant about this team, but like, we should be 1-1 right now. If we lose to the Titans on Sunday, oh my lord, I am calling for McDaniel's head. Like, if we don't at least beat them by 2 scores, because if we want to solidify ourselves as a top team, like, the Bills just dismantled them. And I know we're not as good as Bills, but like, if we want to at least be at that caliber, at that playoff caliber, we need to blow out the sorry Titans out. We need to blow them out. And if we don't, GG, the season was great. Like, that's my spiel. I know it was a little long, but I've liked the Raiders since the Darren McFadden and the Marcel Reese days. And people who know football and people who have been following football know that those were not bright days. And now, growing up with this team, growing up with Derek Carr, growing up with all this stuff, I've never been more excited for a season than this season, because there's actually a reason to believe. And then you come out and you do this. Like, it feels like the 2017 season after we went 12-4 and made the playoffs. Derek Carr's coming off of injury. We finished that season 7-9, and it's looking like if we don't turn things around, we're just gonna disappoint again. Like, I've defended Derek Carr a lot over these last couple years, because if you really look at it, like, he isn't the best quarterback, but the amount of times that he's come in clutch and drove us down the field when we need to, like, look at all those games I gave you a reference of last season. He drove us down the field to beat the Browns, drove us down the field to beat the Colts, drove us down the field to beat the Chargers, and almost drove us down the field to beat the Bengals. Like, the guy is clutch, and obviously the first 2 games of the season, he's had his chances and hasn't, been able to be clutch for us when we need him. And I still believe in him, still believe in the team, as stupid as I sound, but we got to figure it out fast. We have to figure out how to spread the ball around, but still give Devontae the catches and the looks he needs. So there's my spiel about the Raiders. Let's talk about basketball before I lose my mind.
oh yeah, how did you feel about the big Raider trade they made?
For the tackle, right, this morning.
Yeah.
Um, I don't I don't know much about that guy, but what I saw is that Patriots fans were saying that he was low key kind of good. Um, Honestly, we need any help we can get. And regardless, I mean, I'll look at him more probably tomorrow or tonight, but if he's anything better than what we have right now, accept it. I don't know exactly what we gave away. I know it was like was it like a 6th or a 7th round pick, I think? Something like
Um,
that. I mean, honestly, not that much draft capital for, I mean, some help, so I'm down. I like it. I mean, it just shows that the front office knows that we need to make moves, and I like our front office. It's just the coaching is just a little suspect, but um, I like it. I mean, it just shows we just need help there. So Sunday's going to be very important because, like I said, if we don't win, I don't think I can bring. I'll watch the games, of course, but I will be freaking furious. But yeah,
alrighty, so
Raider Nation, baby.
that was about it. Going on 31 minutes of football content, so that was pretty intense. But moving on to some basketball stuff. The biggest signing of them all, Mr. Dennis Schroeder returning to the Lakers on a veteran minimum deal, adding like our 16th point guard to the roster. Um, Many speculated, even I, when I first saw this signing, I thought surely a trade is on the way, or else this roster screams for a trade. This roster makes absolutely zero sense. So it looks like there is no trade. I saw a tweet like 30 minutes ago from Shams on his like show that they do. I don't know what it's called, but he was saying that the Pacers want two unprotected picks for Miles and Buddy, and the Lakers just aren't willing to do that. So it looks like the Pacers are out of the picture. If you're not willing to do two first round picks for Miles and Buddy, I would assume that's probably the same for the Jazz as well. But this Lakers roster makes no sense. It really doesn't. You have Westbrook, you have Dennis, you have Patrick Beverly, you have Kendrick Nunn, you have four guards in your on your roster, which is baffling to me. And then I see some reports saying that they view Patrick Beverly as someone who can guard high profile threes, which Jesus Christ, we are cooked because I believe Pat Bev is 6'1". Yeah, 6'1". And you want him to be able to guard small forwards. Like, what? Yes, he's a good defender. He's tenacious. He brings the energy on the court. But just a 6'1" guard guarding like 6'6", 6'7" guys, like that makes zero sense. And then you're putting Austin Reeves. I saw they're classifying him as a three, which kind of makes sense. He's 6'5", so he can kind of fill that role, but I want like a bona fide small forward and not having to throw Pat Bev down there guarding wings because that's the last thing we need right now. And then they're contemplating, or not contemplating, but training camp is going to have an open point guard battle, which they're assuming is going to be Dennis and Westbrook fighting it out for the starting spot. Currently, AD and LeBron are the only two players in the starting lineup, so training camp is just going to be a position battle. I believe anything can happen in training camp, but if I were to predict anything, I think Westbrook is going to be the starting guard. Um, Jovan Buha of The Athletic was saying that they're contemplating putting Russ on the bench or they're really contemplating bringing Russ off the bench, which in essence, in logical sense, it makes sense. But I feel uncomfortable paying $47 million for a bench point guard. So I think you have to at least start the season with Russ there. So going into this season, um, I believe LeBron's like player mini camp is tomorrow. He usually does that before the season just to bond with players and stuff and get work in before training camp. But Lakers Twitter is basically saying that this is kind of the last day to make a trade if there even is one out there. Time of this recording, it definitely looks like there isn't anything happening, but who knows? Things can change in a blink of an eye, but it's not looking that way. So we're just overall a really small team with not a lot of flexibility. We can go small ball, which, yeah, but when it comes down to it, you need some versatility out there on the court, and this team just does not have any. So Rob is looking very questionable to me right now, and I'm gonna give this team a shot because obviously I'm a fan. I gotta be optimistic. Um, I really like the idea of Darvin Ham, but it's gonna be pretty pretty insane to try to get this roster to work. If I'm being honest, just that wing position is looking rough. I mean, you have JTA Juan Toscano Anderson, which I mean, I'm pretty decently high on as a guy who gets like 15, 20 minutes. He's a proven defender. He at least tries his best. I know him and LeBron have went at it when he was on the Warriors. I mean, the size is there, which sure, but and then you have Troy Brown Jr., who's just had trouble sticking around in the league. He's been, I would say, an unproven young guy, but the potential is there. Minimum deal, obviously. So we'll see how that works out. But I think you're just putting too much faith into two veteran minimum guys to guard arguably one of the biggest positions in this game. Like, I cannot wait till we play a team like the Nets. Who's going to guard Kevin Durant? Pat Bev, I guess, but we'll see how that goes. Um, Kind of went on this whole spiel, but Dennis Schroeder, I liked him in the post bubble season. I mean, people say that the trade for Dennis was a bad one. I mean, in essence, he was runner up for sixth man of the year behind Montrez. You trade an aging Danny Green. I mean, looking at Danny Green now, tore his leg up. In Philly, he wasn't great. Um, so I mean, and he gave up a first, which I believe that first might have turned into Desmond Bain, which don't quote me on that. I'm not entirely sure, but I think on paper, when that trade first happened, I think it was good value for a runner-up six man. I think he was a good point guard for us. He didn't shine the greatest in key moments, like in the playoffs. He was kind of hit and miss. Um, I think the tenacity's there. Obviously, a little undersized against other point guards. So switch hunting was a thing, and it's probably still going to be a thing. But um, Eurobasket, he was really good. That's basically why he got all this attention and ultimately signed a deal after being a free agent for months. But I like Dennis. Obviously, we're paying him 2 million in comparison of what would have been 20 plus. So I think the value is great. Infamously turned down that $84 million deal, and now he's back in LA. So I mean, I'll take Dennis for 2 million, but just the crowded point guard position and just no versatility on this roster is very concerning. So I think if stuff doesn't go well, I think I'm gonna be calling for Rob's job. If this team, because I mentioned it before. Our schedule is very hard in the first 10 or so games. I think we play basically all playoff teams except like the Jazz twice somewhere in there. And that team doesn't get off to a good start. Jesus Christ, this could get very ugly very fast. So Rob's got to tread lightly. That's all I gotta say. But that's my thoughts.
So when I saw that signing, saw the silly memes of how five head Rob is. You don't re-sign Schroeder for the 80 million. You get him back a couple years later for two. Now that's how you manage a team. No, but all seriousness, we're screwed in my opinion. We
uh,
are screwed. And Matt already kind of pointed it out, but you look at our team, Troy Brown, Thomas Bryant, Wenyan Gabriel, Juan Toscano Anderson, like it is
uh,
not good. It is not good, and I'll put that lightly. It is wow. Now, when we get to training camp, I know you said that you think Russ will be starter, which I don't 100% disagree with, but I think to make this season even more funny, the funniest thing to do is have him somehow lose out to Dennis or Pat Bev. Imagine he loses out to Pat Bev.
imagine, I can just imagine Twitter, dude.
Like,
Uh,
you know how screwed we'd be? Because Westbrook's already pissed and the season hasn't even started yet. Like, oh,
well,
and then
don't
the
worry,
shootings.
guys. He's bought in now because Darvin Ham talked to
No,
him.
no, no. The shootings were like worse somehow, in my opinion, than last year. Like, we have Lonnie's not a shooter. Like,
All league average guys, if that.
oh, this team somehow we're worse than last year, in my opinion. I don't know how that's possible.
I don't think we can get much worse than last year.
Like now you like
Oh
truly
man.
like the copium's gone because the trades are out. There's no trades to be excited about anymore. Like it's all wow. LeBron better get ready to go back to 2008 like Cleveland, man, because we're gonna need you, buddy. Like it
Uh,
is. Oh, dude, and like I said, I mean, like you said, first 15 games not gonna look good in my opinion. Um, I do about the pickup itself. I like it. I have no problem with Schroeder. Schroeder, you say his name, but um, it just doesn't. There's just the bigs are awful. Like, where do you know AD's scared to play defense? Where do you know AD's scared to like do anything in the post? He just wants to be cool and do his little fadeaways and his jumpers.
uh,
Like, I guess bringing back Thomas Bryant was cool, but I mean, it's not enough. It's not nearly enough. Like we are going to get absolutely just exposed when we play those teams that have good forwards because Pat Bev is not going to be able to guard anyone that's like
God.
how tall is Pat Bev again?
6'1".
Wow. Yep.
And we reportedly, I would assume reportedly, but I believe it was Mark Stein that said that they view Pat Bev as a guy who can guard the three position. Oh
No, he's not
God.
guarding shite. Like, oh my lord. This season will be interesting. I look at this roster that I'm scrolling on right now, and this screams disaster. But
Oh my God.
as as I kind of am with the Raiders, and as my spiel earlier, how I've been a fan since the dark ages of that team, and I've been a fan through the dark ages of the Lakers. I'll still go in with hope. I'll still go in with maybe we could make the play in, because
Maybe.
that's where my realistic That's where I view this team. I mean, maybe things somehow work out and we get a trade, but as things are looking, like you said, the Lakers aren't interested in giving up the 2 firsts, which I congratulate them for. Um, there's no hope. There's no saving trade that can make this team good, in my opinion. So we'll just have to kind of roll it out with this squad, see what happens through training camp, and just see if Ham can pull off some magic. Because I want to like him as a coach, and I do think that he was the right hire. But I mean, with what Rob's kind of giving him here, it's not looking good. It's not looking good, no matter what coach we have. I feel like, and um, we'll have to see. We've had our trust in Rob these past couple years, but I think that trust is heavily going on the decline right now. So yeah, the overall pickup for Schroeder was, I think, was good, but you just look at the roster still, and it's just wow, we are awful.
Oh my god, like I see Laker fans on Twitter. I understand, like, yes, or Russ is probably
Let
not
Russ go.
no, he's not cooking anything. So I don't think I can say with like 97% certainty that this Russ thing is not gonna, he can play better than last year, but realistically, what's your ceiling? If everything goes right for Russ, he shoots better, he takes care of the ball, he's able to make free throws, he's able to finish 4, 5 seed, if that, maybe second round at best. Like Russ, if even he plays perfect basketball for 82 games, he's not going to take you to anywhere. And Russ stands really need to understand that. Like, yes, he's no doubt a Hall of Famer, but he's a one-man American crew. If LeBron can't win with him, no one can. I'm sorry. LeBron makes everybody better, but you can't make Russ better. I mean, you can say, "Oh, he shot 40% in the corners like the last stretch of the season." Okay, but that's not sustainable. We all know that he's not going to be a 40% corner three-point shooter. If he is, great, but he's just not a shooter. I was saying last year, if he can shoot just 35% from three, league average, that's great. Well, that did not happen. So we'll see how it goes, but I'm very interested to see how preseason is going to look because we're coming up on almost a week and a half away from the first preseason game. So I'm interested to see who will suit up for that preseason game, who's going to start, who's not. Russ did play preseason. I think it was like second game, but it'll be interesting. I get the Lakers' mindset into this offseason. They obviously want to keep salary open. Everybody's on 1 year deals except LeBron and AD, and I think Damian Jones has a player option. So even then, you don't have a lot of cap space. I've seen it a lot. It's been reported that the Lakers want to save cap space for next year to get somebody. I believe if you really look at it, they have like 20 to 25 million in cap space, which Kyrie free agent, you're obviously not getting him unless he's willing to take a huge pay cut. I believe like the free agent class is not great. You have like a bunch of high profile guys, like I think Chris Middleton's in there, but most of those guys are gonna stay. I've seen guys like Harrison Barnes, Gary Trent Jr., Like those kind of like middle tier guys. But like, are they really worth saving money for? No. But then again, are you going to throw away your two most valuable assets for mediocre guys like Buddy Hield, who hasn't been in the playoffs once, Miles Turner, who is a great player, I think, but injury concerns are a really big thing for him. That foot injury is concerning, but um, Buddy Hield's shooting, I believe, has gone down each year, which is also a red flag.
Wow.
So I understand not wanting to give up two firsts. So Lord help us if nothing materializes at like say the trade deadline. I mean, Russ is expiring, so I think he's going to have somewhat of value come trade deadline. But I think the only way you move him is if someone's like disgruntled or a team is looking for just looking to get off money, like a guy that they're gonna have to pay but don't want to pay, like that kind of stuff. But if that stuff isn't out there, then you let Russ on your team rest of the year. Next year, free agency is going to be interesting. Who are we going to sign with our supposedly prized cap space? I don't know, but if stuff doesn't materialize, it's definitely going to be an interesting season. I believe media day is next week, so I'm sure
Thank God.
Rob is going to get a lot of questions. I'm sure all the players are going to get so many questions, and I'm sure Twitter is going to enjoy that media day very much, and I'm sure I will too. I really hope reporters grow Rob, because I remember on this show I was very well documented that when this Pat Bev trade went down, I said another trade is coming. You can't just get Pat Bev and say, "Look, guys, we're done now. We did it." And
And look at
it's
us
looking
now.
like he did it. That's all he got.
Look at us
Oh
now.
my god! Like at that time, I just was so blinded by my blindness to Rob. Just, oh my god! Like Jeannie and Rob just coming out and saying we're not done. This roster's not finished, and it's
Yep.
definitely looking finished. And I forget when, but I know on this show we talked about Jeannie. I think it was like during our in-person era, but Jeannie is a pretty bad owner. Um, I'm done with the whole Laker family like office feel. Like, is Rob really a good GM anymore? You can say that Rob doesn't have those connections with GMs. He's not able to get good deals, you know. Um, if you look at the trades Rob has done, what's one trade that you can say was Rob won that trade? The Lakers won this trade. I say the Dennis Schroeder one. As I mentioned at the time, it was good value. You get off an aging player and you go first for a 6-man runner up, which I think is good. You can argue whether the first round was worth it, but I think that was a good trade. You can argue Anthony Davis. I mean, you got a championship out of it, obviously. But are you going to win another one with LeBron and AD? Probably not. LeBron pushing 40. And it looks like you're punting this season away with a mediocre roster. And you have, and Rob's going to be known for putting together, in my eyes, probably the worst Laker team in Laker history, just with all the hoopla about it, all the standards, all the expectations, and just blows up in your face and you just don't even make the play. And I think that just qualifies as the worst season I've ever seen in my life. And I've seen the dark days of Laker basketball where I was looking forward to Kendall Marshall, Xavier Henry. I thought Chris Kaman and Pau Gasol were like Wilt and Shaq out there. Man, those teams were just more fun. And last season was just not fun. And that's saying something. Like, I had to see just the worst abominations of teams in Lakerland, and those were just somehow more enjoyable than last season. And the Lakers are just a horrible franchise, to be honest. And just punting away a season just doesn't make much sense. You just pump up your PR just to say that you're gonna make more moves. It just doesn't happen. But I guess no trade is better than a bad trade when it's all said and done. But the Lakers are interesting team as a whole. But we're about 57 minutes in. Don't really know. Don't think we have time to go over the article stuff like I mentioned before, but guess we can just talk about a little expectation for NFL week 3. I guess we can just preview a little bit. So do you have a score prediction for your Raiders against the Titans this upcoming Sunday?
Uh, my gut is telling me a score that I would be happy with is like 30-14 and a win. Um, More likely a score that we'd probably get like it's 27-20, maybe like a 24-20. But I'll say 30-14. That's the first number that comes to my head. Raiders win.
The Raiders lose that game. Is it officially panic time?
Yes, because if we can't beat the Titans, then how do we expect to beat the Chargers, Broncos, Chiefs, Bengals, Bills, Ravens, all those other top AFC teams? Then yeah, that's where we enter full panic.
And the Broncos, they're definitely not
Oh
riding,
yeah, I didn't
dude.
get to talk about the Broncos, but
They're definitely not riding, dude. Like uh
Nathaniel Hackett is definitely not writing. That's all I have to say. That guy does not know what he's doing.
oh my god, dude. Just watching that game in Discord, and Ryan and I saying like, all right, let's tune into the ride and see how it's riding, and it's just
Ride.
it,
Oh
definitely.
no.
God, dude, that game was just. Wish I could just erase my memory of that game because holy, that game was awful. Like Bronco fans were just booing, and it was in their home opener too. That was just so hilarious. But hey, you beat the Texans by a touchdown, so I mean that's something. Oh man. All right, so coming up on time here. Thank you guys for watching and listening, however you are, whether it's University Pulse or YouTube. Like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Basketball Maestros. If you're a new listener, we go live Fridays we go live on every Friday from 4 to 5. So if you're new, keep checking us out. You can follow us on all our socials on Instagram and TikTok at the Basketball Maestros as well if you want to keep in touch. But yeah, that'll do it for this episode, and we'll see you guys next time.